And we're off. All right, cool. Let's get you sorted. So we've got a list of topics here. That's always nice. Do you want to give a little bit of a general introduction first, or should we just jump into it?
Yeah, sure. I think introduction would be good.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I started playing again several months back. I think whatever that Pixel anniversary was like the next event after that, and started getting back into the game since not playing since forever. The big thing that I kind of makes my situation unique in a sense is I really don't have a ton of time to play, but I do enjoy the game and watching number go up. So
Sure.
each day, like an hour is kind of pushing it on playtime, unless I can dedicate a weekend for like a longer grind. So really trying to focus on like what steps can I take within that time frame to still progress the account, try and get into the goals that I have, and I realize that due to that playtime, it's going to take forever to do so.
Yeah, dailies especially, right? It's there's this minimum amount of daily playtime that the game just kind of assumes from you, and if you can't reach that amount, then you're just gonna have to spread it over more days, which means your time gate becomes a even more of a hurdle. It's kind of unavoidable, but as long as you still enjoy the game in that state, then it's still fine. So what have you found yourself challenging yourself with like recently, except for time management, I guess?
Yeah. Recently, I was able to beat normal slime solo, so that was like the most recent accomplishment. In general, I do enjoy bossing in the game because it's kind of a way to test where your character's at. So if I was going to focus on anything, it is that. The big issue I'm starting to run into is it's becoming prohibitive to solo bosses. I have a friend who will occasionally duo with me, but we're not at the point yet to like duo Lucid.
And is your goal in general, has that always been like to solo progress?
No, not really. But again,
because of the time constraints, it ends up being like that.
Kind of, and I would need to like do a bunch of research and find like a consistent party, which I will do when I feel that like my character's ready and all that, but I also just need like to find a set time to do things.
Yeah, there's a few things, of course, systems that are set up like that, guilds, but that might be hard to maintain depending on, levels of commitment that they might ask. I have set up like Discord rooms where hopefully people are in, hopefully pretty active, where they are trying to look for certain boss parties. There is also the update in a little bit less than 3 weeks that's coming up. We'll have the ability to make like looking for party boss listings in the boss menu. So hopefully that should alleviate a little bit more with people who play more irregularly, to just get pickup groups that are more solid rather than just a bunch of randos smegaing. That hopefully you can have a little bit more of a conversation and meet up and see what you're doing. Maybe join a Discord call, kind of feel out where everyone's at.
That would be really good. A lot of the automated systems like that would be beneficial for the situation. I remember reading that was coming out. I thought it was coming in Destiny, but good to know it's coming soon, because that was kind of what I was thinking as the next steps on how to get into a Lucid party if I can't put in the time to get in a guild that has a consistent run. Yeah,
it was the first update after Destiny, so that should be 31st of August, yeah. Together with a whole bunch of other cool stuff, so... I mean, no major buffs for Dual Blade, sorry to say, but at least some other stuff is coming. But you're coming along quite nicely, like on the Arcane Power is looking really good, so that's really close to maxing out. Just those last levels, which, those take forever, but you're getting really close there, so... At least you got your priorities straight on the on the dailies when you do have time. You're doing those, so that's good to see. What level are you right now, actually? Because
I'm still 246.
And are
a lot of my experience?
You're looking at
just
those levels
from doing the dailies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, which is thankfully a decent chunk now, right?
Yeah, compared to what it was.
Yeah. What it was, nothing. And do you see yourself just bumping up to 250 with those big potions from the chariot, or were you unable to participate in that so far?
Oh, sorry, I could have included that. I'm completely caught up with that. So my intent with that was to find some time to basically grind 2 levels to get to 248, and then use those 2 potions to get to 250.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah. Okay, that was my question. Yeah. Which in your situation makes sense. And okay, so 250. Yeah. Okay. And this is so your Legion was almost 5k, right? Yeah, because at this stage you'd see people trying to kind of like jump more like closer into like the mid to higher 30k stats, and then like level wise, I mean, and then trying to jump from normal Lucid more into like hard Lucid parties. But when it comes to normal, how much experience would you say you have?
I wouldn't say a ton of experience. I've done the boss a couple times, but Lucid in particular, I'm relatively familiar with the mechanics. I think I'd hold my own in a party and not die out. But that would be with me like kind of focusing on mechanics and not a whole lot on damage. But I think in a party of people who are around my level would be fine.
Yeah, like around your level, around your range should be pretty easy. But I guess specifically mechanically and everything, have you come across anything that's like a giant hurdle during the fight itself?
Besides Helix, fortunately that's behind me in terms of the challenge. But
yeah, thank God.
A lot of the time it's honestly just experience. I played a lot of WoW and I raid there too, so it's like I get a feeling for the bosses. It's really just the repetitions. So I haven't run into anything that's too crazy. Obviously, things are incredibly difficult at the start, and it's just repetitions.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I don't see any like glaring crazy stuff, but as I scroll down, you know, undoubtedly, we'll see some things. So, okay, should we just start like one question at a time going through it? Because it seems like you at least have like a decent idea of your limitations and your goals, so that's good. You do eventually just want to keep going. So we're gonna have our, you know, we're gonna look for the horizon and just get there one step at a time, guess. But like plan for the distant future. You're in this for the long run, right?
Exactly. Like I said, that final thing, liberating as a concept is super cool to me. So maybe one day, even if it takes probably several years, if not more, it is something I would like to do down the line.
Yeah, and I imagine once you get there, there's probably going to be some system in place that will make it faster than it is now. Maybe they'll make Black Mage like a bi-weekly clear thing or something, you know, so that that would still make it 5 months to liberate, but opposed to 10 months now. I imagine something like that is probably coming relatively soon in KMS. I know they want to keep him like the big baddie, and he's like a giant, you know, hurdle. I get that, but you've got people liberating like their 3rd, 4th characters at this point, so the exclusivity of it is kind of gone. But the value, the intrinsic value of it to people is also still very much in full existence. So I imagine something like that is coming either like next 6 months or at most like a year from now in KMS. That seems like the next logical move, with, you know, more and more bosses coming out after Black Mage as well. And yeah, he's not like biggest chief in town anymore. Although mechanically, you know, he's definitely still up there. Okay, cool. Sure. So should we just go like one of your questions, one of your topics at a time, and then kind of make sure that you got everything, you know, dotted and crossed and whatever?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, so efficient progression in very limited time, we'll keep that in mind, like for every single thing. And the main thing is going to be to try to keep it internally consistent with all the things that I mentioned, that I'm not like, okay, just, you know, only do this here, and then it still adds up to like 2 hours a day. Like, that's not easy. That's not very useful. So I'll just keep that in mind for everything that we do. Notes on Path to Success, is that specifically for dual blades or just for any character?
So specifically for my character, I kind kind of wanted to just give you my thoughts on what I have been doing, if you think that's good or changes are in order.
Sure.
I've been trying to get the perfect tries, but it has just not happened. I got one of them on for like bossing, and I'm working on finding another one.
Yeah, so specifically the splitting up of the earlier boost nodes, right, where you kind of have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so I think in that sheet it says late game switch to whatever else. So they're like two distinct for bossing and mobbing. So that's what I've been trying to go for. And
yeah, what is it? Phantom Blow.
The bossing one is
and Clone and Asura, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, one Sudden Raid with Blade Fury and Blade Ascension. Yeah. Yeah, ever since those icons changed, it's been a little bit harder to to recognize all of them. And they changed like the look of the skill, right? Compared to the test server on Phantom Blow, but then they kept the icon for the boost node, so it still looks scuffed.
Yeah. So I have the two mobbing ones. I'm just missing that one final bossing one. So at this point, basically what I have been doing is scrapping nodes that I don't need, and then saving nodes that are of the two types that could potentially roll the bossing one. And then I'm kind of just crafting the node stones for 35 points each time, because there's still value in all of the other boost nodes that I need.
Yeah, the skill nodes,
trying to roll the one I wanted. Yeah, skill nodes, right.
But you do have 6 total boost nodes that you're leveling, so you're gonna have to extract 2 of those eventually, right?
One of them I will need to extract. One of them is the same as that level 15 one, the Blade Flurry one. I have that one in there because it's like a really good node in terms of Phantom Blow and Asura's. That one can combine with the level 10 perfect for mobbing. So those I shouldn't lose any value, at least I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just saying eventually if you find those tries, you'll have everything you need in 4, right? In 4 boost nodes in total?
Yes.
Yeah. So 2 of them will extract. So try to not level those too much, because in that extraction you do lose a lot of value. You just get, you get shards back. Yeah.
Any of the ones that I potentially would need to extract, I didn't level past 15 at this point.
Okay. Yeah, but you know what you're looking for. I mean, yeah, it's just a matter of just not locking in too early, I guess. But I guess, well, that top left one is definitely locked in, right? 21, and that's your try, so...
Yeah, that one's the perfect one, so it's gonna... If I ever get that one, I just throw them in there.
Yeah, and the top right one is 15, but that's not ideally the one you're looking for. You want to look for that bottom left one, right? That's in the list on the bottom. That Phantom Blow one. This is level 20.
Yeah, it could be that. I ended up with just a ton of Phantom Blow nodes. So I kind of threw it in there. Might have been overzealous on that one.
Yeah, a little. I mean, if you find the right Blade Ascension, if you find the right Blade Ascension one now, you could have to like extract the level 20 Phantom Blow, which is a little rough. Which is a little rough, yeah. But I mean, yeah. I mean, what's done is done now. Like, but I would, yeah. I don't know which one to do. Like the whole, crafting node stones. Yeah, just crafting node stones, open them up, I guess. Just try not to lock in too early on which ones you are like selecting as the top 4. The more you keep your options open, the more outs you have, right? But I guess for the damaging ones, you really only have one available. But I mean, if you find the next one being Phantom Blow and a Blade Ascension, then you might, end up extracting the Azura anyway. So that's also still possible, right?
So since I have one perfect on Ashura already, my next one, in theory, I'm looking for either a Blade Clone with the 2 rights or a Phantom Blow with the 2 rights. So that's kind of the hole I feel I've dug myself into.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still possible that you find those last 2, both of those, right?
Well,
but then you just, let go of the 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That was bullshit what I was saying. Okay. And then on the... Yeah. So wait, so this is like your bossing setup, would you say? Yeah.
Yeah, this would be like the current bossing setup.
Right, and you throw in that third one so that it helps more with the... Yeah. You got a little bit of 3 boost notage going on.
Yeah, just to get the Phantom Blow up to the maximum
60?
level for now.
Yeah. And how do you feel about your bind level? Is that high enough to help you with all the other stuff?
It could definitely be higher, but I've just been trying to combine them. When I had started like the major progression on this character, bind still wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't bother to level it so much.
Yeah.
I've probably disassembled a few of those, but
Yeah,
it's one of the things.
yeah.
When I get it, I throw it in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, just because you want to look at the actual timer on it and see if it syncs with your biggest burst just for solo bossing, right? And as long as you're at that point, then you're good. Which is, I guess, your Blade... Was it Blade Tempest? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Blade Tempest, Last Resort have like a very similar cooldown. So
is it 9180? Is it 3 minute?
I think they're both 90.
Oh, they're both 90? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it's trying to get the bind to... I don't think the bind...
Well, it's probably not too far away from that, right? Because it's...
it's close. Just from memory, I think if the bind comes up like a little bit after, but not too many seconds after, currently.
Okay, that's cool. And would you consider moving your boost node, I guess, into the leveled up slot, maybe instead of your 4th V, just to get another 10% final damage on your Asurus Anger?
I definitely could, instead of, like, for bossing, instead of having Holy Symbol there, move.
Oh yeah, instead of that one, yeah.
That up there.
Mm-hmm. And also depending on the boss, you know, Blink could be helpful. Like in Lucid, people use that definitely a lot more, right? Like you jump Blade Ascension, Blink up. That could be enough to stay over the dragon. If you're stuck, you know, and iframes are down for some reason. But of course, you know, generally you want to Chains of Hell.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'd need practice on. When I was been trying to, not trying too hard, but we attempted a duo of Lucid, and that was definitely the roughest part of the fight.
Yeah, if you're doing, you're just in phase 1 longer, and then you get nicked by a few golems. That already sets you back, and then every dragon is the wild, wild west of of death. You would already be kind of to the side of the boss fight, but you're fairly melee, one of the most melee characters in the game, so you have to be really close to deal damage. And the other person that you're playing with, what class are they?
So it's hard to find consistent times of play, but he's Luminous.
Okay. So you're both more on the DPM side as well, no crazy bursts as much. Oh.
Police Burst feels a lot better after Destiny.
Yeah, but yeah. Way more damage on Blade Ascension in a shorter... not Blade Ascension, sorry. Blade Tempest in a shorter amount of time, right? You're not locked holding that skill forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you could throw out more tornadoes. Blaze of Destiny, right? Yeah. And the tornadoes are really nice because they float out to the side and also kill the golems. Always try to do that, right? Always try to face yourself in the way where the golems are so the tornadoes can also hit them. Just to get them out of the way a little bit faster whenever that dragon starts showing up.
The last time we tried that was before this Shining Star Force event, so I did get some gains there, and he did as well. Maybe it'd go a little bit cleaner this time. Definitely the biggest issue that we ran into is just, like, there's way too many golems for 2 people. At least where we were at.
Okay. Yeah, although as a Lumi, like his reflection should be bouncing all over the place. But yeah, when he's focusing on Lucid, is just Ender is just single target, right? And that's what he's mainly spamming. Does Phantom Blow hit multiple targets? Does it hit like 2 or 3?
It does.
Yeah. But only if they're right on top, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really just...
Typically,
Yeah, you
if the
can...
golem's on a melee range, it's not hitting it.
Yeah. You can keep the area pretty clean with Blades of Destiny and a Tornado, but if they're like off to the sides, you guys really have to kill them, yeah, really quickly, which is rough to do. Well, I guess, you know, as the Lumi, you have the you have that big door, and you have Ether Conduit, which is, or Ether Conduit, which is pretty good. That does some constant stream of damage that can definitely nuke some golems. But yeah, it's gonna come down to smart stuff. But a lot of it is gonna come down to whenever the dragon does come up, you probably want to Chains of Hell first to immune like the first tick, and then up Blade Ascension and blink up into the air. And that should keep you safe. The only thing that could really go wrong is a golem spawning right underneath you or getting teleported by Lucid. So that should be a relatively low risk because the blink cooldown is very low, right? It's way, way, way shorter than the dragon cooldown.
I'll need to practice that, but I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, generally people without any kind of up jump, they can't stay up above the dragon too much. So I think, you know, Blade Ascension is like a very poor excuse for an up jump, but it is something that gives you vertical mobility at least. But I think if you, I don't know, someone in chat might be able to tell you, but if you do just Blade Ascension, like up Blade Ascension, right, that's a little bit higher, and then blink, I think your timing would have to be really good not to fall into the dragon still. So it might be a better idea just to use Chains of Hell. Which, you know, again, hopefully you don't have to use it on any, you know, golems before that. Which I like to be, like, basically smack dab in the middle of the Lucid fight. I find that you get hit by golems at the very least there. Whenever I see someone a little bit to the side of the boss fight, they're always getting, like, hit by those things. I always stand, like, right in the middle of the boss fight. Which, of course, you know, helps you clear the golems a little bit less. But it does put you way less danger for the golems. Yeah, and that gives you those lives that you need to get through phase 1. Because once you're through phase 1, it's pretty free. Like, phase 2 is pretty free. It's just, you know, look out for sickles and, you know, for the lasers, don't move around too much. Just move just enough to dodge it and just, you know, step your way to the other side of the, to the other corner of the map and you're good. And for touch, you know, just stand on the sides, stand on the platforms where the seals are, where the cleanses are. And just stand on the outside of that platform and just wait out the attack, and that's it. You know, it's very straight. Yeah, phase 2 is very straightforward. Phase 1 is just has the more trickiness, and especially, well, it's already easier, a lot easier now because in the past the golems on normal would have a limited amount of damage they could take per hit, right? So they would be way harder to kill. You'd need basically always need a 4, 5, 6 man party to, around the stat just to be able to do it.
I think that was the last time someone basically carried me through it.
You can Chains of Hell and Blade Ascension to the side. I guess that's true as well, right? Yeah, Blade Ascension onto a golem, even if you're on the side, and then just... Chains of Hell onto a golem on the side, and then Blade Ascension and just jump over them onto the side. That might even be safer than using the blink, yeah. If you're already kind of going towards the side. Because your iframe will last long enough to be able to jump over them, right?
It should. Chains of Hell last a little bit. Longer than you'd think.
Yeah, but yeah, they changed it to you have to use the secondary effect, right, to get the full duration. That changed a while ago. Or maybe you weren't back then.
I'm not sure.
Well, it was a little bit of like too free of an iframe, basically, so they made it a little bit more restrictive. In the past, if you just tapped it even for like a millisecond, you get the full 3 seconds. And I believe now they changed that if you just do the first... The first bit of Chains of Hell, it what happens is you only get like a second and a half, I think, and then if you also do the second part where you do like the little mini attack thing, right, where you like jump around a little bit like a dumbass, you get the full 3 seconds. So they wanted to make it sure that you did the whole thing. Yeah.
I'll need to play around with that then. I can't remember. I haven't like been in a situation because Lucid is like the only thing that would be really challenging that I'm doing right now to really notice the duration on the iframe.
Yeah. I guess one more thing on the Matrix that I did notice is that you don't have any Urda's Will. The further you go, the more useful that skill will get as well to have leveled up and just to bring the cooldown down.
What would I use that for?
So yeah. So for example, there's a few things you could use it for. You could use it preemptively to stop things. You know, like very early game, you use Hero's Will or Urda's Will, for example, to block the Zombify of Crimson Queen coming in, for example, if you don't have your iframe at that point. Or you can also block it to cleanse it if it does even go off on you. You can just, you know, take it off. That's really nice. If you pop it, also like a hat that would fall on you and in Clown wouldn't fall on you, but because you have Dark Side for some of that stuff, so you don't necessarily need it. But there is ways that you can just avoid stuns, avoid CCs. It's very much like, let's say you were in Lucid and you use your iframe and you get to the side and you see her do the teleport animation, right? There's like a little sparkly white ball in her hand and she could teleport you into the Dragon Breath. If you press your will skill there, you will counter that as well because you won't be able to get CC'd. So there are just a lot of small situations where it can help you. In the past, we would use it to not get caged by Hardhilla, for example. And the further you go, the more you get into... once you go past Hard Lucid and Hard Will, you go into the Tenebrous bosses. You know, for Ferris Hill, you wouldn't necessarily use it, but like in Gloom and Darknell, it'll be very useful not to get stunned by a bunch of things, not to get blinded, not to get sealed, that kind of stuff. And then for Black Mage, if eventually you want to do that, it's very useful to have because of the curse system. All of the Black Mage skills give you either a white curse or a black curse. And if you have the white curse, you deal... I think it there's like a few things. If black curse, I believe you deal more damage, but you cannot heal. And if you have white curse, you deal less damage, and maybe something else. I forget what the other thing is. But if you get hit by a skill of the opposing curse, you take more damage, which will likely kill you. But also, getting hit by an opposing curse also loses you a life. So a lot of times, if that happens, you lose 2 lives at once. And that's how, you know, even though it looks like you have a lot of lives in Black Mage, you can go from, like, having 12 lives left to, like, 2 lives left very quickly like that. By just getting double hit a bunch of times. Because sometimes you'll get hit by an opposing curse, you won't die, but you will still lose a life. And if you get hit continuously by things, you could just go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And suddenly you're 6 lives down. So what the will skills can do is it can block incoming curses preemptively or reactively. So let's say that you get hit by a white curse. That means that if you get hit by anything that would give you a black curse, it doesn't activate for those 3 seconds that you're immune. Or if you can hit it before you get hit by that first curse, then you know you would be immune for that altogether. And those will be, yeah, valuable to have on a short cooldown.
Gotcha. I'll start keeping those then. I
Yep.
definitely haven't been holding on to them.
Yeah, it's a long process, right? So you'll just slowly level them up like all the other ones you're leveling up. So there's no rush, but it's going to be good to have once you get to that point. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Is there anything else with the VMatrix that you had questions about?
No, that was one of the more complicated systems at the start, so I'd done a ton of looking into it
Yeah.
in terms of kind of ideas on it and what I might need in the future. Didn't think about the Urda's Will though.
Didn't think about the what?
The Urda's Will.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would probably only be level 4 or 5 at this point anyway, right? So it's not like a huge setback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess decent combat orders comes into play at some point, but especially if you're auto-buffing, you only need level 1 anymore, right? For the decent skills. Because they'll just replenish anyway. The only decent skill I would level is Holy Symbol, because it actually gives more drop rate and more EXP. But all the other decent skills you can just keep at level 1 if you're auto-buffing.
I do have auto buffs on the pets. I haven't actually leveled any of these in some time.
That's good, yeah. Yeah, you can just extract extra if you get. It's really, like, the difference between level 30 and level 5 is probably like 2 stat for every one of them or something. Like, it's just ridiculously low. And those shards are better used leveling up all your skill nodes and your... and once you figure out your boost nodes, maxing those up. But mostly leveling up your skill nodes, right? You want your Shadow Walker to be higher level. You want your Last Resort to be higher level. That kind of stuff. That's going to be way more important. And your Goddess Blessing, right, to increase your burst even more. Those are going to be way more important to level up than your decent skills. It's just going to do If you have auto buff, that's not going to do anything for you, right? Because uptime is already 100%. The main reason that we level them up in the past is to have more time between when you could rebuff them and when you needed to rebuff them, so that you wouldn't have like, oh, okay, I'm bursting, and then I have 3 seconds left on my decent skills while I'm mid-burst, and now, you know, your burst gets fucked. But you couldn't rebuff them before because you have so little time on them, right? So that's why we would level them in the past. But since you have auto buff and it's just always gonna fully cap them out, there's no point in waiting for that.
For sure.
Okay, so VMatrix is okay for you?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, you think so? You have to know so, right? You're here now, so you can ask whatever you want. If there's nothing else,
I'll be more firm.
Yeah.
I am certain.
You're certain? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if anything comes to mind later, you can go back to it. Okay, it's not off limits at this point. I see you have Monster Parker Metal, because I noticed you have that special one from the event, right?
Yeah, I do. So I was just kind of to pick your brain on it. Is it even worth grinding the Monster Parker Metal over that one?
It's like 7 and 7 with 10%. Man, probably not.
Yeah.
But so there's cool stuff coming as well in the August 31st update. Is that your boxes, your Monster Park boxes, are going to be transferable with an account. So that means you can start working on Monster Parker Metal 7-day like progress on any of your characters and just keep the boxes, and you can always just, you know, you even do Saturdays and Sundays and move the EXP boxes over here if you really want to, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess some of your other characters, possibly the ones that you might want to make into boss mules in the future, probably will have better use off of that. Or even lower level characters that you just want to, you know, get some easy levels on just to get them to like 140 or something like that a little bit faster. It probably is better value. Because the main value is like the coins, but you can trade the potions, so that's fine. And then the second main value is like the boxes and what's in the boxes otherwise, but that's going to be transferable. So I think that takes away the pressure of needing to do it on your main character. And the fact that you already have the Monster Parker Metal, I think, takes that pressure away completely.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I could probably slowly start working on it. I think the next thing that I want to eventually turn into a bossing mule is a Shadower.
Mm-hmm.
That was my main way back in the day. So I'd like to eventually have that to a playable character level.
Mm-hmm. Not a total departure from the Dual Blade, of course.
Yep.
Not even distant cousins.
When I started.
Oh, I see, yeah. Wait, I remember when were you around when Dual Blade came out?
Yeah, that was actually around the time when I quit because I was like, dude, I love the idea of Dual Blade because I've always wanted to just play a character that wields 2 daggers.
Mm-hmm.
But you made this giant pay-to-win class in my game that I'm not trying to be pay-to-win about.
Yeah. The mastery books, right? I just remember the amount of mobility that class had and the amount of lines just made no sense. Because right now, you know, if you look at the amount of lines that any class puts out, everyone else is like, you know, either my lines are like way bigger numbers or we put out a similar number of lines. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But back then, I don't think a single class hit more than 4 lines ever. And then when Dual Blade came out, I think they hit more lines than what is now the max. Like, because they would hit 6 lines with both of their weapons and then with Shadow Partner. So they would hit like 24 lines of damage. And even though the individual numbers were pretty small, but the numbers would just like go to the ceiling and hit multiple targets. Like, you'd be killing Zakum and the whole screen would just be filled. And you'd be like, this is so unfair. Like, why am I playing any other class than Dual Blade? Like, this doesn't make any sense. What is our scaling even? And yeah, the flying assaulter and if everyone else had either a flash jump, a rush, or a teleport. That was all the mobility that existed. And Dual Blade came out and just started like Cirque du Soleil through the map, doing 14 billion lines, and it was like, what's going on? I think that was the beginning of the true power creep in this game.
The lines is what got me, because that's why I'd started on a mage and then I saw a bandit do Savage Blow once. I was like, I need to get on that skill.
I remember that sound effect. Oh my god. Old Meso Bomb had more? Yeah, but you had to sit still for like 3 minutes dropping Mesos on the ground and then explode it all in 4 seconds. Like, it was a whole hassle, you know? It wasn't quite the same as it wasn't quite the same. Savage Blade, best sound effect. Anyway,
you set up your auto clicker with the mesas and you go to town.
Oh yeah, you had to copy like a certain amount of mezzo with a bunch of zeros in the front or something because it made it like faster. I don't remember exactly. There was some weird shit going on with that.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Yeah. And then they always had that one new guy in the party who started like looting the mezzo and like stop. Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't go for the. I would go for melee. Yeah, I would get. There's more value, I would say, in getting other characters to that point, and maybe even the EXP from the runs even on other characters. But again, if you're limited on time, I would probably not scale up on high-level Monster Park, and I would always just slam Knight Stronghold just to get the EXP. As an example, though, like I had a level 200 character, and this was a while ago. I don't know if the EXP curve has changed since then. I don't think so. But like a level 200 character that started doing Monster Park, and then by the time I got the Monster Parker medal on it, he was level 207 just from doing the Knight Stronghold one. So that's like the really fast one with almost no EXP. That still gave 7 levels past 200. So it's still, it's still decent.
It's definitely something. And so right now I'm for like dailies doing event stuff and then symbols. One day my symbols will be maxed, and I can spend that time
free
doing something else. Yeah.
Start symbols on the next character. Yeah, exactly. Remember you're here forever. It's like Mr. Burns all over again. Yeah. I guess your other question, Oz. Oz is something that as soon as you start like approaching 250 is usually something that I start floating as an idea. It is definitely a longer, if you can even call it a daily, it is definitely something that is more of a time commitment. Some people just like it a lot, and then, they end up doing it more. It is specifically, I mean, everyone benefits from like a good ROR weapon jump ring, and then some people from risk taker rings and everything like, of the likes. But, if you're like high burst DPS, you get way more out of it percentage wise. So you are more of a DPM class, so it's not as much of a priority. But I would just say, like, if it's content that you enjoy and there's maybe a light at the end of the tunnel as well, like as a big prize if you do well, or no, not if you do well, but if you get lucky. Then and that's something you want to do, then go for it, because a lot of this game is very monotonous, like grind, and that's kind of its own grind as well. But it's a jump quest, puzzle, it's got like quizzes and stuff in there. If you enjoy doing that, and that makes you still be able to put up with the overall game, then by all means go for it. And even if you don't get, you might not get any rings, but hopefully get a good experience, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't touched it at all. I've watched maybe a video or two of people running through it, so I've kind of got an idea and a feel for what that would be.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of a long thing, so that'd be, even if I start doing that, that's probably like, hey, on the weekend I have time to play a little bit more in a day and get that done along with the other stuff.
Yeah, one of the benefits could be if you get a really nice ring out of it, then that would kind of make it so that one of your ring slots is just not as... not as pressured anymore, and one of your rings can kind of be neglected more safely when it comes to damaging. Unless you want to start ring swapping, of course, and then you'll still feel bad if you don't have it on.
The swapping, I hope they make that easier one day, because it is kind of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Swap equipment mid-fight.
Yeah, it's I don't know. They started doing presets at least for NX equip, so they're doing something, but not quite what we're looking for, I think. But,
I haven't spent one of the event ring coupons, so that is a potential thing I was thinking about doing to replace the Chaos Horntail ring. I'm sure that would be pretty much just a direct upgrade. And if nothing else, it could be a drop gear. That sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, what did you say? Swap event ring?
So, for this current event where you can get one of the 40 stat 20,
mm-hmm.
I still have one of those coupons that I can use.
Okay.
I was planning on using it to get rid of the Chaos Horntail ring and replace it with that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an immediate gain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're really close to that arcane weapon, of course, but like lucid wise, you're not quite yet at the droplets, I'm assuming.
No, I'm sure I'm way far off on that kind of stuff.
Because what I'm thinking,
slowly accumulating them, but it takes some time. And the boss kills are, I'm sure, going to be the real dampener.
Yeah, and yeah, because what, you know, if you're moving to the ring, I want to make sure you're not making like an upgrade that's smaller than you could be making, because then you have to make 2 of them, right? If you want to make the next one after that. So, because when I see like CRA and secondary that's already 21, basically the next step after that is like 21 accessories, basically. Or like 21 accessories, like rings, and like 20 star superior stuff after like foddering 21 and transferring into it. So I want to start looking more, because like an event ring is cool, and it's like an 18 star ring, but what's even cooler is a 21 star ring, right? And then if you get that, then your event ring will very quickly also become drop in Mesogear. So at that point, it might not be a necessary step to make. Maybe hold back a little bit in the short term, and then make the you know, the double jump immediately. But then you'd have to like know like how you're looking for kind of treasure rings and primals, you know, to make Meister rings. How that's looking.
Primals, I think I have one. The Meister rings are, I've got the profession leveled, but I would need to get it to the Meister level and start working on all of that. The kind of treasure ring, I blew up all of my backups on the Shining Star Force, and I was left with that 17 star ring.
Okay, nothing fancy came out of that.
Well, I got all the CRA and my offhand to 21, which was pretty helpful, but the Kana ring ended up blowing up twice.
Okay.
Oh, and one of my Golux things blew up too.
Golux. Yeah, because I noticed you have a 18 earring. What's the story behind that one?
So I had a backup on my earring, and I was pretty close to having coins, so I was like, if I blow up this earring, I won't care, because I can go buy a new one, and it'll just be a 12-star earring. It's not that big a deal. And then I got it up to 18 again after the first one blew up at whatever star. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather just keep this and not have to deal with that. So I just stopped star forcing it. It was at 17 before, so I was like, I'll take the 1 star and call it a day.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, because it's one of those things where it depends on how long term you're looking, but spares for superior are really nice. If eventually, so what is the future for the piece is always what you want to look at to determine whether or not you want to make short-term investments based on backups, or if you still going to need those in the long term. So if you're looking at Golux coins, it's a really cool resource because it's like a universal backup, but that also means that there's opportunity cost related to what are you going to do with it, right? Are you going to keep for reinforced rings to make like a 21 or a 22? Are you going to keep it for backups for dependent or the ring that don't drop if you're going to go from 20 to 21 after foddering 21 to 20, right, with a level 140 piece? Or you're going to keep them even later than that when you're going 21 to 22, even on things that maybe can get backups like earrings and belts, just as an extra precaution safety net. So with all of those things in mind, yeah, you might get like an extra star now in the short term, but maybe that goes at the expense of an extra star that's a way more valuable star later on by going a little bit too hard too early. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was. So this was one of those things where like I had, you know, all of my mesos. I was like, I'm gonna spend it on the Shining Star Force event, and I got CRA in the Katara, the 21, and I was like, well, I still have like 6 bill, and I don't want to just sit on 6 bill when there are potential gains to be had in the Star Force department.
Yeah, yeah.
So just.
Well, so what I would have, what the general push I think would have been, you know, from an efficiency standpoint, not to like, you know, salt in the wound or like say that what you did was like super wrong, but like the ideal situation would be like you have reinforced earrings and then you just tap the reinforced earrings up to 21 with that money, and then if you get it, you transfer that into the superior, maybe even into the backup, so you don't have to roll over this one that's item drop rate already, and then you just have that one. They have a 20 star on the side, and then whatever backup or what you might buy might become a backup from tapping 20 to 21 with more security, and then if you get a 21, that item is like done, right? And if it isn't, you can do a 21 to 20 again, and then sit on a 20 star at least. That's like the idea of making those bigger jumps with the fodder, because every single individual star going up one at a time, that's really only for equips that have ton of backups, like for CRA or for your Kataras. But for these pieces, just because you get it one backup now doesn't mean you get another backup guaranteed within like the next few weeks, right? It could be another year, or you could get 10 in the next year, like who knows. But like Mirio in the chat went for 22 earring, and I think he blew up something like 18 superiors or something. All that he had backups from Gollux, right? So like he was able to go, but that one last star cost him so many that, you know, yeah, a little bit like hindsight, but like rather safe than sorry there. I think it'd be okay to sit on 1 star lower and just try to get the fodder going, right, and reinforced. But I don't know if you're saving those. I don't know if you have a bunch of those.
No, I just, because this event has been like very important to coin cap, I kind of just haven't been running Helix lately.
I see.
But I'll need to throw it in the rotation. In my mind, like my next giant Star Force is going to be the next Shining Star Force.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not sure if I'll end up doing that before then. So
but tomorrow, 5, 10, 15? Come on. I guess you don't have anything to work on.
I actually think I have something on a character I might like. I think I have like a 15 star or something. And I literally ran out of money to tap it to the one more when it. But
I mean, I guess the next would be transposing pendant, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was something I ended up doing in the Star Force event. Ended up getting it up there, and I feel like the flame on that one is not so bad. You need to farm the dineros to get the.
Oh, that's pretty good, yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, you haven't. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably right now. That's a big project that you can work on. Is transposing that, getting it to 17, getting at least 2 line, maybe 2.5 line luck on that. That'll be a big upgrade for you. And yeah, the other thing, well, since this is like your boss setup, there would be either, if you have like a backup, another earring, like an old earring, even like a unique one, or even if it's epic, to get another earring to be your drop or mezzo, whatever you need for your set earring, and to fully roll this one into damage, at least 2 lines of luck. Because this is your damage set, so you're kind of past the point where you can really justify having those hybrid pieces that are both like part of your drop mezzo and part of your damage, unless they're, you know, like Absor CRA, right? But when it comes to accessories, you really want to start dividing up between which piece it is, unless you're just drowning in damage. Then you're totally cool. So like the situation that the monocle is in, the situation that the earring is in, that and the pendant are probably the things to be working on right now as like the next move.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just haven't had the chance to bite it out. The thing is, since I didn't have the drop gear, I just feel bad not having the drop on the items in terms of just general farming. But it does sound like a good play to work on getting the distinction there.
Well, yeah, so if you don't have... So you're saying you don't have specific drop and mezzo gear?
No, this is what it is.
Okay. So that is something that can get you pretty far, right? Because you can just brute force your way through. But once you get into the point of, you know, like CRA to 21 and like Katars to 21, you can still do those things, but that brings a whole... That means that every single... Yeah, you're literally just looking for like every 6 months for like an event, because it takes you that long to save up that kind of money to make those jumps, right? And... Yep. It would definitely be a matter of, yeah, because I didn't know if you just didn't include your drop or mezzo gear, but it would definitely be the main thing that all your money should be going towards now is making like a flushed out drop mezzo set, and then first, and then a damage set after that. So with the contingency of, okay, at least 1 extra eye, 1 extra earring, or that's going to be part of the set first, and then once you have that, you can re-roll these. That is by far going to be the most important thing to do for your account, especially if you want to eventually get to 260, eventually 265, eventually to 270. And it's, you know, it's already kind of late, but because at this point you would have earned that money back already, like 2-fold, 3-fold, 4-fold, 5-fold, whatever. Because you make so much more money when you're training that way. But you went the whole way as a dual blader already, which is quite commendable, because, you know, in the past a lot of people would have said that dual blade was very annoying to train. But the main thing is that once you get into the 260 area, well, you're probably going to have to be more closer to like 265 or something. But dual blades can jump into Cernium and burning Cernium very quickly compared to other classes because of their Blades of Destiny and their Tornado doing such insane damage and have short cooldown, right, with the cooldown hat.
Yep.
They can move over there very quickly and keep their levels up. But that does mean that between now and that time, you're going to need to capitalize hard on being able to make as much money as possible, because you haven't been able to do that before. And then once you get into those higher level areas, you're not going to be making as much money comparatively either. You're not going to get, as many nodes. You're not going to get droplets. You're not going to get familiar cards. So it is going to be very important to get those stats up so that you can capitalize on that for the next like 20 levels.
Gotcha. So then, moving into the drop gear, are there specific pieces I should be aiming for to do that, or just kind of like duplicates of what I have?
Well, I would always start with what you already have that's like unique, and then just get it up one at a time. Because at this point, you're kind of relying on stats of lower level gear. But you might not necessarily need those when it comes to mobbing, right? Like, if you're like for bossing, it'll take a little bit of a step back, so we'll see how we can compensate for that. But when it comes to mobbing, like the Reboot Cosmos ring is cool at 18%, but that's also just one tier up away from being a drop or mezzo line, and that utility is just way more valuable. Even the Silver Blossom ring, like that being. Like, once that gets to being a drop or mezzo line, and then the second or third line is also luck, you don't even lose any damage, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you really want to look at it. And usually you make that jump right from Epic straight into Legendary, because then even if you have like a 9%, you always bring back 6 or 9% basically in the drop or mezzo gear eventually. In the beginning you hit drop or mezzo, boom, you move over to the next piece just to get your full set of 5 mezzo and 4 drop and your 9 accessories. But the thing is, DB doesn't need strong gear to one shot. Yeah, exactly. Well, not with your really big skills. Yeah. So the main thing is that for bossing, you might take a step back in the short term, but you are going to make way more money, and then in like 10, 15 levels, you'll see a huge difference in whenever an event comes around. You'll actually be able to participate, and you'll be able to have money to spend. Of course, it's still going to be limited by your time that you can play and by the amount of backups that you can get. So I would say definitely high priority things to do is, do as many weeklies as possible. I'm assuming that in the weekend you take as much time as you can for those, especially like kind of treasure rings, right?
When you say weeklies, you mean the bosses?
Yeah, weekly bosses, yeah.
Yeah, I try and get all of that done because it's super efficient for mesos.
Yeah, and then for dailies, I would say normal Arcarium is very important. For the primals and the dominators, right? Those you can never have enough of those, or you can never have too many either. And like Helix if you can, might even consider, if you're in a guild, just like slamming guild skills just to get through that faster, and maybe combining the harder dailies, or maybe doing 1 or 2 of your weeklies every day together with the guild skills just to speed them up. I don't know if you have the time to like AFK on your character to get the guild skills back so that the next day you can just slam them again. Yeah, if you have time, especially in weekends, try to do like the solo voyages and CPQ for the Dineros, because that is definitely going to be a little bit your bottleneck on progress, and the pendant is quite expensive, and you don't want to underestimate the cost of transposing either. That can be 100 Dineros a day. So if you're going more long-term on that, it would be advisable to follow the Commercy command, so trying to do the furthest voyages, that is a bit of a time investment, doing like the furthest voyages for the most EXP for your boat. But once you get to the Dreadnought, you get to the level 3 boat, you take like 10 minutes a day, and then you get like 45 Dineros a day, and then you can just start shitting out backups very, very easily.
How much does it cost to level from 2 to 3?
I believe it's 500.
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah. So
I know the boat is max level, or I can level it to 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't.
Yeah, but that's 200 in arrows, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's 500. That's a huge upfront cost, but when you think about how many backups you're going to need, like even just one backup for the pendant is it 350?
Yeah, it's 350 or 400 for that pendant. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's like one extra pendant, or it's basically your boat leveled up to the fact that you can do your dailies in 10 minutes and get it back up like every 9 to 10 days. Like, it starts paying off really quickly after you get that initial investment going. But it is something that's quite annoying. Yeah, and CPQ for supplementary if you have time, of course, but that's always going to be on the maybe pile. But I would start, slowly moving into drop and meso set, and just, again, one piece at a time. Hopefully you won't notice it that much. For mobbing you won't notice it. For bossing you might notice it a little bit. But again, for bossing, hopefully you can combine it with keeping the guild skills up. And there's a few things we can do to get a little bit more damage for bossing. Because your ID is a bit on the high end, right? Because you do have the familiars. And assuming this is with your familiars, right?
It is with the familiars.
Yeah, because I'm wondering how bad it would really be for you if you were to roll out of the ID line on your weapon. Is the weapon transposed, by the way? Probably not, right? Oh, it is. Okay, cool.
No, it is.
Yeah. Well, I was not saying probably not because of the number, but because of how you reacted in general to Commercy. So.
No, see, that was like the huge grind was getting to the point where I could transpose the guitar, and then I was like, I got that, I got the accessories that I have, and then back when I was doing this, it wasn't like Sweetwater Pendant was the thing people were going for, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wash my hands of this right now. I did it every day for who knows how long. I was tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been more that they were talking about, what's it called, the Sweetwater earrings back then, probably, right?
It could have been.
Because people would get the set bonus with like 2 pendants.
Whenever, oh yeah, that was it. Because you'd have 2 Gollux pendants.
Yeah, 2 Gollux pendants and the belt and the But that's because the drop table of Gollux also changed, right? Because he used to drop pendants, and now he drops earrings instead. Used to drop pendants and belts, and now he drops belts and earrings. Yeah, different times.
I don't think it would hurt me too much to reroll the ID line on the...
No, I don't think so. And I think the extra attack line will make up for quite a few lines of stat that you might lose, so that your bossing damage stays roughly equivalent. Excuse me. Stays roughly equivalent. And, that'll be enough to carry you over, and then the extra drop on Mezzo will just come back to you in more damage as well on the earring once you can redo that, and way more damage independent once you can transpose that one. And then you can go to, full 17, full, and the monocle, right? Like an extra line of stat there. But you do have the Papulatus mark, right? So you probably just want to hold on to this monocle, whatever, and just start throwing all the flames you possibly have onto the Pap mark. You probably had a question about the flame, if it's good enough, I'm guessing.
Someone literally posted on Reddit, and I read some comments. They have this exact same flame, and people were like, I don't know, it's a little low. Mm-hmm. So I think that score ends up being like 105, and people wanted like more than that for this. So I might start throwing the empty flames into it just to get it a tiny bit better. It's definitely close though.
Yeah, so people, it depends on what values you take. Sometimes people just have, a lot of people just have this brain rot where it's like, oh, all stat is 8, and then someone said that somewhere sometime, and that's like the number that people are always stuck on. The truth of the matter is that all stat is almost never 8. When you're low level, it's way more, and then when you're high level, it's also more. There's like one point in the game where it can actually be pretty close to 8, but it generally never really is 8. So for a dual blader, since you have 2 secondary stats, it's always going to be more valuable than for other people. And since you're transposing, that's for the long term. And if you take endgame scores from like high-level dual bladers and stuff, all stat is closer to 10 for them. So if you take 10, this is a 115, which I would say is very clearly, yes, good enough to transpose. But for most other classes, it's more like 8.5 to 9. And then it gets closer to, if you take 8, what people might do, then you see this as a 103. And then it's like, oh, then it's just below the mark, right? And that's quite an important 12 stat difference there that is going between like, oh, that's clearly under to, oh, that's clearly above. It really comes down to how much money you think you're going to be spending and how long you want to be stuck on this process. Because yes, Allstat is more valuable, so it's considered like a 115, but it's the same level of difficulty of rolling basically a 115 for a dual blade as like a one. It would be like as a 109, I guess, for a non-dual blade. So essentially, you can also see realistically how that would just make you put your limit a little bit higher, right? But it really comes down to like how much time you want to be stuck on this. I think this is good enough to transpose. I think I could show a flame to people with a flame score that is higher than what they would be aiming for, but they still wouldn't transpose because they're stuck in their numbers. So for example, since Allstat is technically 10 for dual blade, if you ask someone like what flame score are you aiming for and they say like 120, okay, so that means if I give you a 7 Allstat, that's 70 already, right? So 50 left, and a 6 weapon attack, that's 18. So, you know, at that point you have 32 left, right? And then I gave you like 30 dex and 30 strength, that's 6 of that, so now it's 26 left, and it has 26 luck. Would you transpose this? Everyone would say no. Even though that's exactly the flame score that you're looking for, right? But just because they see 26 main stat, their brain just turns off. It's like number too small, you know? So sometimes it comes more down to like knowing that it's good enough rather than letting your intuition go, because your intuition can lead you down some paths that are not very helpful. So I think this is good enough, but ultimately it's your decision on how hard you want to push, you know? Because you might be thinking like, okay, I have to still build up the boat, I have to still build up the narrows, I have to transpose the pendant first, get backup for the pendants, pay for the transposing, be able to buy another monocle, pay for that transposing. That might be months away, right? So what is the chance that in that time you get a better flame? Like, what are you really going to be flaming in the meantime? Because I didn't check all your other flames, but it'd be your arcane weapon, right?
Would it?
Well, your glove actually. Okay, your CRA can probably use slightly better flames. Never mind. Yeah.
Some of the flames are kind of scuffed here and there.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah.
But I basically had just been dumping flames into things as I've been getting them.
Mm.
I haven't been focusing on it too much, so this is kind of like a, let's say, where I've settled at recently.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, your Abzo stuff can definitely get flames a little bit better, and even his CRA could be a bit higher, I would say. Like the pants and the hat for sure. The top is okay-ish. But ideally at this point you want to have flame scores. I would say for your CRA, your flame score probably want to be like close to, well, both for CRA and Abzo, you probably want to be like in the 90 range, 90-ish. It's like your glove is, you know, but you can cut on stuff for 10, but so your glove is like just over 50. Yeah, if you add all of those stats up together, I think that's higher priority to flame, you know. If you're done with all of that, and you're done with all your dineros, and you're really done, at that point it's also like, well, do I really need this upgrade? If you need this upgrade, then you can just make this one and it's fine. If you don't really need the upgrade yet, you can always be like, I'm gonna min-max a little bit more, so that when I do make it, it's really worth it, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I would look at it, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely leave that flame for now and cross that path once everything else is kind of up to snuff.
Yeah, you've got plenty of other projects, yeah. But it's good to have. That way you know that your current monocle isn't like something that really needs to be invested in, because you have that on the back burner. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, so once drop in Mezzo is set, you know, those accessories are all underway, and I guess, yeah, reroll the Katara. There is probably at that point, that's really when, so in the meantime, with those dailies and stuff that we mentioned, you want to be working on the fodder stuff for Superior, right? So you can start foddering Superior into the existing pieces or side pieces if you get drops, right? So that you can make 20-star Superior and then start working on that. For rings, typically you go for these other rings first. You blew up all your kind of treasure, so that's unfortunate, but you'd rather have a 17-star Superior Gollux and a 21 kind of treasure than a 17 kind of treasure and a 20-star Superior, right? The extra star there is always going to be more valuable, even on a lower level item. So you have a kind of treasure or a Meister at 21 first, use it as that, and then then make another one and then transfer hammer. Don't do the first one, transfer hammer, and then make another one 21, right? Right. We do have the no boom room coming as part of the Night Troop. near probably October, November, probably closer in November. So if you can get some more primals and make some Meisters by then, that'd be a good time to just send them all to 15 just to have them all done. And save a lot of money on star forcing and a lot of time on like safeguarding and all that stuff up to 15. That would be cool if you can do that by then. But other than that, I don't think there's any crazy deadline on stuff. It's mostly just going to see how fast you go and just know the general trend. So yeah, so make sure that you get like reinforced earrings, you know, as much as you can, as much as you have time for Galax. In general, coins is going to be a good idea, you know, just always for backups for tapping 20 to 21 if you want to do that, or to give you at least the option to be able to choose that. And then, yeah, Dominators, but we already mentioned normal arc, and then kind of treasures, you know, from the weeklies. Yeah, and for belts, it's, I mean, you already have a bunch of Pink Bean belts, so that's usually the first project that people are able to transfer Hammer into High Star, just because it's the easiest to get backups from, right? So by the time that you blow through your money and you have backups there, that gives you more time to get backups in other pieces, and then whatever is the next project for a superior piece will just reveal itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Familiar's looking, I see Familiar's here. Familiar's looking clean. I don't know if you were trying to venture into areas with Familiars dropping. I see some spiders, but are you actually training in those areas?
So, I mean, realistically, I haven't trained in months. Like, all of the experiences from daily is training is capping a coin event.
Yep.
Any training has been working on Legion. Since I started playing again in Destiny, I had to take like a 2-month break for things. But when I started playing again in Destiny, it has just been like daily story and then having fun killing bosses.
Yeah. Yeah, that does put more emphasis on the damage gear and maybe a little bit on drop because of the boss drops. That's definitely true. But on the other hand, like if you don't have the drop in Mezzo gear, it also, yeah, I don't know. I want to give you the opportunity so that your training feels more fun to do. But on the other hand, I also don't want to put you in the situation where you feel like you need to be training to capitalize on that investment you made, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little bit rough.
It definitely makes sense. And honestly, so that item drop, a blue familiar, that is like something I just got, and it has been a world of difference.
Oh, yeah.
So that
that's really good.
Getting the drop will be pretty big, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's massive, for sure.
But the other thing that's been rough about familiars is spiders is probably like the best place that has spots open all the time, because the Tenebrous things, the good maps have just been taken at any time I'd have time to sit down and train.
Yeah, you mean like VC3 and stuff is just always...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super full. Even 40 channels. They could give it 100 channels. It'd probably still be pretty full there.
I've been slowly working on, trying to get the large drop epic familiar. Just one day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only thing you're really looking for at this point. If you get higher IED or you get some boss, that's cool, but it's really all about that large drop, yeah. That'll help as well with those backups, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, normal lucid clears. Yeah, I mean, you can... I don't know if you're in my Discord. We've got like a room for bosses where you can sign up for boss parties. Give yourself the role of the boss that you're looking for in a party, and you can just type in there, just be like add here, and you're like, yo, I'm trying to lucid. Is anyone again? And everyone else signs up for it as well. So if I'm live, you can find someone there. You can find someone in the chat. You're gonna have to look from a lot of pieces, but yeah, I'm really looking forward, like not for myself as much, but just for the community in general, just the addition of the rooms in the boss menu, so that people can just mix and pick up groups. Because yeah, other than that, it's rough, especially if you're a regular player.
Yeah, that's why I haven't just been doing it, because, like, again, that's going to be a time commitment, which is the constraint.
Yep. Okay. Goals. Yeah, for normal will I have I've got like 1 or 2 videos out, but yeah, you have to get first-hand experience. You have to just get in there. It's you have on Lucid, you use your NPC chat to cleanse, right? Are you familiar with how the cleansing works a little bit?
Talk to the little trumpet statues?
Yeah. Yeah, like when you do it, how it restacks, that kind of stuff.
I've just been kind of watching in the back when there's like a ton of butterflies. I've been using it, and I haven't run into any issues kind of going by feel like that so far.
Yeah, so that's why the boss has so many HP bars, because every HP bar gives you a cleanse on the statue. And then it lights up one of those little diamonds. That means that you have a cleanse available. So if you see that there's 3 available and the bar is already like over halfway, you can always preemptively cleanse if you're near it anyway, because it's going to restack pretty soon and you're not going to run out anytime soon. But if you see like an okay amount of butterflies, but the run is going quite slow, and you only have 1 cleanse, you might you might want to hold it a little bit longer just in case. So, but yeah, that's more. I guess the cleanse mechanic has been a little bit just outscaled with how strong people are now, because you'll have just like 1 or 2 people at 30k stat like doing a burst, and you'll just stack up 3 of them, and by the time your burst is back, you've barely gone through 2 of the cleanses. So, in general, it's not as important now. But the main reason I mention it is because like the use of the NPC chat button there, that is going to be more prolific in the Will boss fight. So you build up what's called Moonlight, and you use it in all 3 of the phases in Will. And yeah, every phase it has a different purpose. In phase 1, it has the purpose of switching you to the other dimension. And in phase 2, it has the purpose of allowing you to heal. So that's pretty important. Otherwise, all healing is blocked except from healing familiars. So that's why those are pretty nice to get once you get into the Will experience. And in the last phase, you use it to be able to walk through the spider webs that clutter up the map, and to cleanse them if you walk through them. And you can cleanse up to 2 webs every time you activate the Moonlight. Because if you don't have Moonlight activated when you get pushed through them or walk through them, then you get sealed and you take damage over time standing on top of them. And that seal is not one that you can just take off with stuff. You can preempt it, right, with the Hero's Will skill, for example, but you cannot cleanse it off once you have it on you. So that is that's a rough one, because there is a mechanic in phase 3 where you have to use a movement skill, like a flash jump or something like that, to be able to dodge an attack that's coming in that does 100% of your HP. So if you are sealed, you can't do that, and then you die to that skill. So it's important to keep the map cleansed and have everyone in the party like focused. So the general mechanic with Moonlight is, as long as you do not get hit by attacks, you build Moonlight. So every single thing that hits you will pause your Moonlight regeneration for a few seconds. So if you keep constantly getting hit by everything, you have no Moonlight, you can't use the mechanic, and you might end up dying to stuff. So it's all about positioning and learning the patterns a little bit. And just, in general, getting a handle of it. But yeah, it's EXP. It's going in and, seeing what goes on.
Yeah, Will's one of those fights. A few of the later fights that I haven't really done at all, I've watched the stuff and pretty much determined, like, hey, this is a complicated fight. It's just going to be a learning process. I need to get in there and do it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And yeah, like I said, you could watch all the videos you want, but unless you actually get in there and try, it's... Yeah, you won't really be able to conceptualize, like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. Or the timing of certain stuff, you just have to look at the animations and, turn your animations down, maybe turn it into blade skill, keep a close eye on the boss. The patterns usually alternate, so if you see that, a place got hit or you got hit somewhere, it's better to stand still oftentimes than to move around, right? Because you're not as likely to get hit twice in the same spot. Unless you're in a corner. Sometimes in the corners there's like spam of attacks in a row. So yeah, it's a bunch of different stuff at the same time, and I could talk about it for 25 minutes, on all the mechanics, but it's really about going in there or watching a run and then kind of seeing what people do and why they do what they do. But a lot of it comes down to just positioning and kind of like just less is more with movement. If everyone knows what they're doing and stays like in the middle of the map, Will does the same thing like the clown, like Pierre, right, where he teleports to where someone is. you can imagine if you have a 6-man party in Pierre, a lot of times when he teleports, like someone dies because you don't really know where he's going, right? But if everyone's clumped together in one spot and he disappears, you know exactly where he's going to be going. And it's kind of the same in Will, where if you let him teleport off to the sides, he's got this big tornado that he'll just fly through the map. Well, he'll just fire it in one direction. So if he's in a corner of the map, he could actually hit the entire map with it. But if you make sure you stay in the middle of the map and he fires off that tornado, you just walk behind him and you're good. You know, so that makes that whole attack that could be life-threatening a lot simpler. So if everyone knows what they're doing and everyone's positioning is rather on point, the whole boss fight becomes a whole lot easier. And that's a good lesson to learn if you're going eventually into Black Mage, because if you don't know exactly what you're doing positioning-wise for Black Mage in Phase 3, it's almost impossible to kill that boss, because he'll be dragged all kind of places, you'll have no safe spots, you'll get desynced all the time, and it can get really, really bad. But if everyone knows kind of how the boss moves and where to stand and why you're doing what you're doing and how important that actually is, the boss fight becomes infinitely more easy.
Yeah, that was another one. I looked that up. I was like, hey, this fight looks super complicated, and I'm way far off from ever attempting it.
Yeah, the Google Doc with the explanation at least is already like 30-40 pages or something. I don't even know. There's well, you can also very clearly see once you're doing that boss fight is that a lot of the skills that the other bosses have are like derived from special abilities that the Black Mage has, right? Because he kind of like gave them part of his power. And yeah, it's almost like you're fighting all of the bosses at once, and they're doing like all of his attacks or something. Oh yeah, it's 47 pages, yeah. But it's a good boss fight, and it never really gets super easy. Like, it gets straightforward and it gets muscle memory kind of, but it never gets super easy, because if you have like a moment of just goofing off and not really paying attention, you can get clapped really hard. So you have to stay on the ball all the time, which I think is good. Okay. Are there any topics we didn't... Oh, we didn't really talk about Legion and Lynx. I don't know if you have any questions there. Because I would keep the board the way it is probably until you hit 5k, because then you have to redo it anyway.
Yeah.
And then just, yeah, fill out your critical damage on your IED and then start moving towards the boss damage, right?
Exactly.
And then you can, yeah, divest from the middle.
I'm not sure if I have any particular questions there. It's kind of just slowly getting things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got no characters between like 130 and 180. So I would definitely, in general, just for the progress of the Legion, try to get a few 140s in there. You know, even just with Monster Park or with Zakum runs, just to make sure that whenever you have those extreme growth potions, you have something to use them on. Because you can make a bunch of 200s, and that'll be good for filling up the board, you know, once you get the SS blocks in there. But there's also a whole lot, there's like hundreds and hundreds of Legion levels you could gain by just getting all the 140s up to like 160 or 170. You know, those levels are way cheaper, and you can be done with way fewer potions than like those last levels from like 192 and up, right? Because those are pretty much always like, you know, 6, 7, or 8 potions to get those last. But with 6, 7, or 8 potions, you can get a 141, sometimes to like 180, you know?
Yeah, the Ho-Young and Adele will be 141 soon enough before we get a flood of more potions. I've been trying to slowly work on that because I had kind of dumped a ton of potions in the last event or two into getting several things to 200,
yeah,
and then using the crazy stuff this event to get some 210s.
Yeah, I see you have some 2.4s, 2.5s, some 2.10s. Yeah, that's really good for those level 4 links. That's very solid. But you do end up with a bunch of 2.10s that are like as strong as a level 130, right? So you do have kind of a marooned set of characters, and you're not... It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? For your account, it's probably fine, and for how you're playing. But for other people, just want to make sure that you're not set up to have boss mules and to scale up on income. But for you, that's probably fine, because I don't think you have the time anyway to do that.
Nah, so I think
that's okay.
Like the end game there is going to end up being like the Dual Blade is the main thing. One day Shadow will be a boss mule. The Dark Knight that I leveled to 220 just for this event, just off the stuff I got from that, he can do 3-door and everything below that. And I think that's a good place to sit it for right now. Because that's still like some amount of money a week. That's decent.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people ask, like, when do you start with boss mules and how many do you make and everything? Just make as many as you think you can support. As many as you feel like you have time to play. Because the worst part is, like, spending a few bill on a character, or like 10 bill on a character to make it a boss mule, but then never having the time in the week to be able to play it. Because now the game has, like, dangled the carrot in front of your face, like, oh, this could be potential income. And you've made the investment, you've, you know, divested from other stuff and invested in that instead. But now you're not capitalizing in it. And now, because of how the game is designed, it's like, well, you know, it's your decision. Now the game makes you feel bad about how you're playing, while it, you know, give you this promise of riches. So be careful not to get tempted into something that you cannot, you know, participate in later. And that's the main reason why I'm not going too hard on my side bossing mules either, because I just noticed that in a week, I've already got so much to do, I don't really have the time to go play on them. I have to, like, force myself to go do it, and that's not a good long-term fun, you know?
Yeah, I enjoyed bossing, so I wouldn't feel bad doing it, but there's 100%, like, I haven't put any more effort into it, and it's really a slow process, because I know, like, hey, that's eaten up time just to go kill it, even if I enjoyed doing that for the gain on the main, or even throwing it back in the bossing mule to get to the point where, so for the Dark Knight, for example, like, all the money it's making, I've just been putting back into it, and eventually it will do 4 doors super fast, so that always feels nice.
Yeah, or be able to scale up to do, like, HMAG, maybe CPEP and Akechi eventually, right? If you do decide to do some more dailies, get up to 225 with some more arcane power, it can get to that level pretty quickly. But you'd have to have the time to scale up, and, you know, yeah, and the desire to. But it's good to see someone actually do make a whole legion of level 70s, because you can tell, you know, he doesn't have that many high level characters, right, chat? But, like, because of all the small level 70s here dangling around. And you don't even have full 40 characters yet either. You can even make a few more. Already so close to 5k Legion. Yeah,
exactly. That it just felt the most efficient to me. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just in a slightly different situation because of the limited, like, your time constraints you have. You're not really looking for any character as a long-term gain. It's really there just for its utility, for its link skill, Legion, and then get out. So then mass production just makes a lot of sense. So yeah, if you get the 40 characters, you're actually already at the 5k. Yeah.
Good. Work on getting the
easy
2 more then.
Yep. Yeah, and then could redo the board, and then, you know, if you want to get that 6k, then you just convert all the 70s to, like, 100, and then how many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23 times 30. Nice, 690. Nice. That'll already be 5.7, so then you're only 300 levels away.
And I mean, fast. Honestly, every single character that gets to 100, 108 is literally free. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another 140, 160 levels. Yep.
That's been a project. Just from thinking about it, it's I think 6k is easily attainable in, like, the not too distant future, and then 8k is going to be the grind.
Yeah, August 31st also there'll be 2 extra characters at level that count for Legion level. I forgot about that. So if you make even 4 more, then you get another 300 out of, like, if you get, or another 150, you get another 150 out of that. So then 6k is literally free, yeah. And eventually 8k will be much more free as well than now.
Yeah, it's just it's gonna definitely end up being, like, potions for a lot of it, and then a final grind in the future.
Exactly, yeah.
In terms of links, I guess the only question I would have there is like, is there any link I'm missing or I should prioritize in your mind outside of what I already have?
Okay, Links and Legion is usually a little bit of my blind spot where I kind of brain off. You've got a lot of the characters though, right? You're familiar with my Links Legion command, so you know like which ones are high priority.
Yeah, I probably have most of those.
Yeah, I guess when
relatively leveled.
This all seems to make sense. I guess the Pirate Blessing here is the one that stands out a little bit as like, I wonder if that one should be there. What are your alternatives? I mean, if you're party bossing, you definitely get the Adele in there, right? But I think even if you're soloing, the Adele is probably already better, especially because the Pirate Blessing is only level 3. If you have, you know, like a Cygnus Blessing could be better. Also gives you a little bit of immunity to, or like a little bit longer duration reduction of CCs. So you get stunned not as long if you get hit by stuff. That's pretty useful. Some of the more utility stuff, maybe like the Spirit of Freedom, right? For extra iframe when you res, something like that. Because, yeah, just the Pirate Blessing by itself at level 3 doesn't really do all that much. Could even consider Core Aura, but I don't know if you've rolled that one into useful stats.
No,
okay.
It's nothing right now.
Mm-hmm. Probably even Hybrid Logic is probably still better as well. So, like, I think any of those is probably a little bit better. But yeah, that's probably the last. You know, that's probably number 12 anyway in the list. So yeah. It's the least of importance. But that's like the only one that I see something like that's probably something you could move. But other than that, it's fine. Yeah, don't see anything wrong otherwise. Yeah, so slowly work on those flames for sure. Because I think you could definitely gain like, I would say like 30 to 40 flame score probably on the Abzo still, like way before you move into the CRA, into the arcane stuff, and the CRA pieces as well. So you got like 20, 20, 30, 30, 30, 20. You know, you add all that up, that's getting pretty close to like 150 stat. You know, with multipliers, that ends up being pretty nice. Oh, your gloves don't have critical damage. That'll be something that's good to get as well. Your range will go down, but your damage will go up quite a bit.
Yeah, I considered that in my mind, especially after this. I was talking about the Katara potential.
Yeah, I would see those together, like getting critical damage on the glove and getting 2-line attack on the Katara. That would be like, or you know, line attack and line boss on a Katara would also be nice. But yeah, that would be like in the same category of like cubing upgrades, I would say. You got 21 on the cape, so that's probably good enough to keep unique for now. A lot of all stat on the other stuff. No luck with the full luck lines, sadly. Yeah, but I wouldn't really go out and buy flames, right? Mainly just use event shop ones. I would say the ones that drop, but what are those? So it's mostly just the ones that you can get access on from event shops, like Harmony Shop, those ones, right?
I've been using that stuff a lot to buy droplets. And droplets and flames are like the two main things I feel like I've been spending coins on.
If you're buying droplets, just remember like a droplet is 50 mil, a flame is like 10 mil, and then look at the price in the shop and see what makes more sense for you to do, right? Because you can freely buy droplets, right? They're not this like hugely rare thing that you have to buy out from the shop at any given time, right? It's really just like a powerful flame. But what is powerful flame is what, 8 mil, 9 mil, around there, and then droplet with the discount in the shop is 40. Fuck, is it 40, 46, 48? I forget. But like you can see how much they are for Mezzo, right? And then just combine them and then see what gives you the better value for your event currency. Is there a shop
At least
here?
for this event, I felt like I could have it all just from the sheer amount of coins we've been given over the course of the event. Yeah,
it depends on how far you get. And for Harmony, it depends on how far you get. It's mainly for Reboot, we kind of have like a luxury problem there, or a luxury option there, because in non-Reboot, they have a lot more cool stuff in the shop. that they have to, that they have to fight between on what do I really want to get. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. In Reboot, I mean, for me, definitely, because I do a lot of high-level bosses, so I can buy out anything I want, even like all the Black Flames. But if you take away those Black Flames, you can, buy out pretty much everything else, even if you're nowhere near capping, But, we're working on a drop rate and a Mezzo, right? So eventually you will get some extra droplets, and you can always just buy with Mezzo at the end, and that'll be more of a better option once you get more Mezzo obtained and more drop rate and everything as well, so... yeah, just consider your options. Like, Eternal Flames are pretty fucking rare, especially now with the current boss drop. So getting some Eternals at least to throw on the Abzo, you only need to get one good roll, And that could be considerable upgrade, probably slightly more than like doubling what the current flame score is on those pieces. Well, not doubling, but like for some of them it could be, Get like a 50 and 5 or like a like a 60 and 4 or something like that. That'll be way that'll be like a good goal for the Abzo stuff. And then for CRA, like almost as high, probably a little bit lower, but like almost as high. Like at the same level at the top or a little bit more than that.
Okay then. So, in my mind, start with the Abso stuff on the flames, then kind of head towards the CRA once those are a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, so potential-wise, it'd be the glove and the katara. Well, first the dropper Mezzo gear, I would say probably, right? Then the glove and the katara. Star Force-wise, nothing in the immediate vicinity. Like the transposing is more important first, so that you can then work on the Star Force stuff. So that means the CRA daily, the Commercy dailies, that kind of stuff. Flames is more like event shops, so it's whenever you have access, and then it would be that order that we talked about, and then eventually, whichever comes first. If you get to the point where the Papulatus mark, where transposing that becomes the next upgrade, if that's way before you are done with your flames and everything, then I think you're okay to probably transpose. Probably not a bad flame to do. But if you do end up getting to that point of having the flames to throw in here, like Eternals, way before that point, you could say like I'm just gonna aim for something higher. But it'll depend on what your level of income is at that point and what your level of play is and what makes sense. Because if you get your arcane weapon before then you're definitely throwing all your flames on that instead, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you want to have like equivalent of this, like ideally a little bit better. Like if you could trade that luck line in for like a boss damage line or something, that would be something to be looking for. And then of course all of the money towards the star forcing on that, and all of the money towards the potential on that. That'll become your main important thing to be investing in.
Or by the time I have the lucid droplets for it, I'll have the money set aside just to immediately move into what'll be a hefty upgrade on the dagger.
Just potential damage lines. Just make sure you have a contingency for the crit rate, right? Don't forget about that.
Yeah, that could be Legion board. Hyperstats, I could put a little bit more into crit. I only have a few in there.
Yeah, and some of those Legion characters still crit carriers?
Actually, some of them I might have ended up taking off because I got level 200 on things. So even honestly, if I leveled some of the crit characters up to 200, that would cover the crit on that weapon. If I got all of them to 200.
Yeah, like the marksman can get you 4% if it's up to 200, which is now a level 70 sniper.
Yeah.
So that could cover some of that, Or even put a few blocks in your Legion grid, if it means that you can get to 100% that way. That's going to be more efficient. I mean, you'd rather have 4% critical rate that gets you from 96 to 100 than have 4% loose critical damage, boss damage lying around, right? That critical rate is way more valuable there, so... Yeah, until you get it from other sources, and then you can always just move it back. It's nice and flexible like that. Okay. Anything you feel like we missed out on, left out, or anything that comes to mind that you still have a question on?
Covered all the topics. I guess a super quick... I'll give you my thoughts on familiars. I feel like I've done a lot of research on this, so hopefully it's correct. But basically, right now I'm grinding in either the spider area or the Tenebrous areas that drop things, or familiars. I'm leveling them up to the blue ones up to level 5, converting them to epic. I'm holding on to all the epic ones right now, just constantly making epics until I get large drop. And then once that finally happens, should I continue to make epics, or should I start leveling those epics to unique?
Yeah, that's the main question. I was going for uniques because I feel like that's better value, because every unique also has epic lines, but it really only makes sense if you're like long term going to be in the area making many thousands of familiars. If you're planning on getting out again as soon as possible as well into Cernium or Burning Cernium, which you might as a dual blade, right? Because you have that option. Yeah. Then it might more sense to just make more epics, just to have like more attempts, because you can get boss damage, even if it's only like 20%. You can get boss damage out of it and higher IED. But the one thing is that you cannot get healing fams. So if you don't already have any healing fams, it's probably still better to go for uniques, because you want those large amounts of healing for your teammate and for like people nearby to make will, and then later Ferris Hilla boss fights way easier. And maybe eventually Black Mage, depending on how far you're going. Because if you're not doing that, that's okay for your level on your main character, and for the boss fights it might still be okay, but what that means is eventually you're going to have to either circle back, which probably means a second character, or that's going to eventually get into those areas and get into Moonbridge and into Limina to start supplementing or supplying, I guess I should say, your main character with those familiar cards.
It's a long way down the line, but my thought process on that was I was probably going to use the hyper burning thing on the Shadower, and I don't even think I'll be able to grind that up to 250 in the time frame, but get it to the point where it could start farming spiders or something like that. Get it at least close.
Yeah, Shadower can do Limina very, very well, of course, but it does need a substantial amount of farming for the Meso Explosion to be able to kill properly. But once it does, it can make really, really good rates there. Probably among the best in the game, actually, because of their built-in Meso gain.
I don't have any large healing. I don't remember the name of the line, but I know I don't have any of it yet. So I should work on uniques to aim to get to that healing line, correct?
Yeah, so you'll have the ability for large amount item drop rate, and increase yeah, I don't know the exact name of the line, but like it increases like regen HP and MP, but HP only is also very nice, of course, of nearby allies or of party members. Both of those work, and then boss and IED, even bigger chunks if you get them. But plus the epic line is also still there, so you could, YOLO look into double lines that are useful, for example. That would be amazing, of course. So there is some stuff to get there. There's just more outs, basically. It's more expensive, but more outs, so it ends up being financially expedient. But God, it's so depressing to have like 8 uniques and reveal them and just get absolutely nothing. You're like, oh. Could have been like 20 epics. That probably all were nothing as well, but that's another point.
Yeah, I missed the boat on several things. I should have had a potable badge and such. Could have logged in for it way back in the day, but oh well.
Yeah, I was playing way back then as well. Definitely not all my characters got one. I was like, what's the rush? I can always just get it later. Well, guess not. It's hard to say what's going to stay and what's going to go in this game. And I think half the time the team doesn't even know it until they get the go-ahead to remove it.
No, the whole GMS, KMS situation seems wild to me.
It's definitely an interesting construction, yeah. How they have no real devs, just people who copy-paste things in and hope that things work kind of thing. It's very, very interesting, but, budgeting and allocation of resources and whatever.
The besides that, I didn't have any more specific pointed questions.
Okay.
If there was any like general trends you think I should be following outside of the upgrades, like in your mind, what are efficient ways to do things with limited time?
Yeah. So if you have limited time, never do the at least at this point, never do the highest level monster park runs. Always just like if you have time, slam Night Stronghold. If you don't have time, that's okay too. Because that can eat up a lot of time. Like a general thing, like if you're doing Dream Defender, you probably past that point, and you're not doing that on any character. But like never climb every day. Always just like go in, clear that one floor that you can do, and get the fuck out. Because that's one of those many ways that can just eat up more time, and it's just just a few extra minutes here, just a few extra minutes here, but like 3 extra minutes here, 5 extra minutes there. That's 8 minutes a day. That's an hour a week, you know, that you just lost. That's how the game is built, to try to take up little bits of time everywhere. And if they succeed at that, and that's, you know, that's why if you complete a daily, you don't just get the reward. You have to go click a button and then go into a screen and then click pick up, you know. It always just takes up a little bit of extra of your time, so that you're just in the game a little bit longer than you actually need to be. That's why when you kill a boss, you get the reward points, but you don't really get the reward points. You get the ability to pick up your reward points and then cash them in the cash up, so that you can also see all the shiny things in the cash up, so you can see what you're not buying, right? That's how the game is always built out. So always kind of look at things like that. When you're getting something for free, like a sherbet pet, always see that as a surplus and not as your baseline going up, because of course the sherbet pet is nice, but no, they're not never giving you a sherbet pet because they want you to enjoy what a sherbet pet is like. They want you to feel bad when it expires, so you buy a $100 fact pet, right? So it's a little bit like cynical, but just like in the moment itself, just see it for what it is, as a plus, and you'll just always be weary of your baseline, and that you don't like you see it as a plus, and then just a going back to the norm rather than the new normal, and then, you know, losing your normal, because then mentally you'll get fucked, and you'll just get stuck in circles that the game kind of wants you to do. You know, it's set up as a kind of like a rat race. So as long as in general you can take a step back every now and then and be like, okay, what am I doing in a day? What am I doing in a week? What do I really need to do here? What do I really want to do? What is functional for me to get to the next step? And just axe things, you know? And you can, it's better to axe more things and be like, oh, I actually missed that, and then add it back later, rather than just keep on doing it just in case, and then recognize a year later, like, okay, now I have 6,000 dineros, but, you know, I only needed like 400. You can never get those hours back, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I was fortunate. You've spoken to this a lot, but like, hey, don't do stuff in the game that makes you unhappy. And I feel like that's how I tend to play. So if something's like really bumming me out, I don't do it, but at the same time, I'm actually comfortable with the fact that I'm not getting those rewards. But the rewards aren't worth my sanity.
Right, yeah. And if it comes down to it, you just make like a pro and con list of like, what does this do? Oh, it makes me get like shiny or higher damage. Also, it destroys my mental health, and now I have no social life anymore. It's like, well, you know, is it really worth it? Just as long as you're okay with it, you're okay with it. But sometimes you just have to write those things out and put them next to each other, and be really truthful to yourself, and honestly tell yourself that yes or no, it's something that you want to do. Yeah, I guess that's general trends, and I try to keep up with all of the upcoming changes in KMS and stuff, so hopefully I've informed you enough about things that are coming that will help you shape a little bit. And just whenever an update comes out, it's not just like, oh, you know, patch notes, blah, 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 but it's always about like, how can this help you, you know, change a little bit how you engage with the game, so you can get either more enjoyment out of it, or you can move some things around to be more time efficient with how the game has changed, you know? It's not just to read out the patch notes, but hopefully the more you're up to speed with the stage of the game, you'll be able to be more receptive towards the stuff that is coming and how that will impact your day-to-day and your week-to-week in the game. So hopefully the new groups and Lucid will help out a lot. Some dailies will change, like the weeklies will give more pieces for Absolab, for example, so that'll be nice. You'll be able to get Absolab gear on a character more easily. So that might make some things that now are completely like off the table, might make them a little bit more accessible to do. But of course, you know, the game just wants you to play longer, so be careful.
Yep. It's always that's the struggle. I
Yep.
guess. So we talked about it for like 2 seconds before, but I do have that event ring.
Yeah.
Since I should clearly move into drop gear, would it
Yep.
make sense to just buy that and use that as essentially a drop ring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The other ones are already unique, so I would work on them first, right, in terms of investment. But I don't know if you're looking at like the legendary scroll, for example. If you have that,
In theory,
then yeah.
I could get that. I'm not sure if I should spend those 5,000 coins there, or if I could either do that or buy flames, because I haven't quite bought out the shop yet. I would need to look.
Yeah, like the regular nodes, the eternal flames, and then I would say the scroll is after that.
Okay, I will budget it like that then.
And there is a big bonus coming at the end, right, where you can get like 1,000+ extra coins just for doing your dailies and logging in for like 10 days, or like 1,500 extra coins or something. So there's like a big injection of extra coming in the last few weeks.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So that might...
I'll need to map that out, because
Yeah.
the thing I don't want to be in the situation is I say I have a total of 6,000 things, but I only need 3,000 to buy all those flames, and then I'm gonna like, what am I doing with those other 3,000 coins? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Might be better by the scroll and then 1,000 worth of flames. That might be like a better option then, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll need to math all that out. I'll get that figured out then.
Okay.
But no, I think that was it then.
Okay. Well, thanks for waiting for me, because I was a little bit late. A little bit late.
No
AKA 2 hours.
worries.
But yeah, I wish you best of luck on everything, and I guess congrats again on winning, right? The free session.
Yep. Thank you so much for that. That was another game of patience.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it paid off, so good stuff.
I don't know how many months ago, but I was one of the videos. You're like, oh, you can just have the patience of a saint, and I was like, you know what?
Sounds like me.
I'll do it. We'll see. But thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, and yeah, I'll see you around.
See you around.
All right.
Later.
Bye-bye. So you heard it here, chat. If I have the patience of a saint as well, and you would like to win, you could just leave a comment on the YouTube video that you would like to win with your Discord name, as many people are doing. Well, not that many, actually. You'd be surprised how good your odds are of winning a free session if you just leave a comment. Most videos only have like somewhere between like 3 and maybe 5. Outlier of like 6 or 7 at most comments. So if the video gets picked, your chances of winning is like 15-16%. It's pretty good, and it's some good value, so don't neglect that. Of course, if you don't want to wait that long, you can check the information in the description of the video on how you can get one of these one-on-one sessions with me, where I basically just help you with whatever you need help with. You need help with time management, whatever your specific situation is, we use that as a baseline, and then we try to work towards what you want to achieve. You're able to give as much pushback, be as argumentative as you want, have as many questions as you want. Although I do want to try to keep sessions shorter, but before you know it, we're at 2 hours. But it should be about an hour and a half. You can also do short sessions. You can do like turbo speed sessions if you need it like the very same day or the next day. Usually can make something work. Or if you need private sessions because you don't want it to be public, that's okay too. Those are, of course, a little bit more expensive because I don't get any ad revenue from that on YouTube. But all of those options are possible. If you need any of the resources, check out the Twitch stream. I stream there every day. You might be able to catch me live as well and ask me some questions. And if you just have the patience and you just ask a few questions every day, after a few weeks, you'll also, or like a week or two, or maybe even 1 week, you'll also get a full account session that way. Of course, can't go into full detail on everything because it'll just take too much time. But there's a bunch of helpful people in the chat. And there's a bunch of helpful information available to you all in the stream. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you either in the next video or live on stream.